This video is for my 2214 class and the 2215 class. We get this little
Acura TSX
on loan to us from Honda. Mr. McGuigan's class put a clutch in it, and since then it has failed to start. It cranks, but no start. So I'm going to take a look at it and see what's going on. Mr. McGuigan told me that he couldn't communicate with the module. So he went ahead and ran mode 1 and mode 2 tests and determined that there was a problem. Something was going on with some of the communication. So he had a couple communication codes on there. So he went ahead and looked at the PCM. He ended up checking for power and grounds, and everything was good there. He followed down through the trouble chart, and that was kind of where he left off. He ran out of time. So I've got it now, and I'm going to take a look and see if I can see anything going on with it. Now, right now I've got a scan tool connected to it, and we're going to take a look and see what kind of codes we have or what modules we can communicate with. Okay, I went ahead and did an all scan for DTCs, and it's saying it's detected 6 systems. I've got ABS, I've got airbag, I've got electric power steering, I've got tire pressure, I've got body electric, except the gauge, and then I've got the gauge. Let's see what else we have. All right, here's some of our problems. Here's some codes. ABS, CAN relation failure. Airbag codes, undefined data received from PCM. FCAN, communication failure. There's a U code, gauge control module lost communication with ECM, PCM. Well, that in itself might give us the problems with the FCAN and the others. I don't care about the daytime running lights there. Gauge control module. All right, now, again, communication problem there with ECM, PCM. Note that on here, we do not have an ECM detected. Now, I tried communicating with the ECM with the scan tool, and I had no luck. There is no communication with the ECM. So I've confirmed that what this is telling me, that it can't talk to the ECM, PCM, and also what Mr. McGuigan said, he had no communication with that particular module anyways. So probably the next thing I'm going to do is take a look at the data link connector. We're going to take a look and see if we've got pins 6 and 14 working, since it's, again, FCAN or a CAN system. All right, it's got the key on. With my wonderful smart breakout box hooked into the data link connector. It'll show me I've got power, I've got ground. I'm going to turn the test function on it. And this might be difficult for you to see, but this is pin 6, CAN plus. Doesn't have anything for CAN minus, but this is indicating that something is happening on the CAN bus. I'm going to go ahead and hook my meter and see what we've got. Now, if you remember with CAN, it's idling voltage, if you will, is somewhere around 2.5 volts. So I'll go ahead and go right there. All right, and if you look at this, this is right about 2.5 volts. I don't know if this is going to help me or not. I'm going to do a min-max and a peak min-max. Okay, if we look at that, I've got my min just slightly under the 2.5, and the max about 3.5. So that's kind of the range where it would be communicating anyways. So something's going on with that. So it's not open, it's not shorted to ground anyways, and it's not shorted to power if we've got that kind of activity going on. Just for giggles and grins, I'll take a look and see what CAN minus has. So we'll go down to CAN minus, pin 14. And I've got about 2.3, just under 2.3. So that is a low. Let's do a peak min max again. All right, everything's done. All right, so min 1.3. Maximum about 2.5. So we've got activity going on there as well. I could throw a scope on it to get a better picture, but I don't think I'm going to do that right now because I was looking to see if we had a completely open circuit, no communication at all. So something is happening here. Whether it's coming from PCM, I don't know. But we do have communication going on here. So I'm going to switch gears here a little bit, and what I want to do is take a look and see what is not happening, why this thing is cranking but not starting. So I think I'm going to start with my coil, ignition coils and my injectors. So I'll pop a coil out, put a spark tester in there, and I'll go ahead and put a Noid light in one of the injector connectors there. So that's the next thing. Coils out of there. Again, I'm going to put a spark plug tester in there, crank it over, we'll see if we've got any spark. I'll go ahead and unplug an injector. Let's unplug this one. Alright, I'll put a Noid light in there, we'll crank it, see what the results are. What I'm looking for. All right, hopefully we'll be able to see that. We don't have any spark or injector pulse. Probably next thing I ought to do is check for power and grounds on the coil. Check the power side of that injector circuit, make sure that we've got voltage where we need to. I think I'll check the spark command at that coil and see if we've got any kind of voltage or anything. Now I can do that with a DVOM or test light. I think I'm going to choose a test light. Okay, I've got the key on. I'm going to go ahead and check for the presence of voltage with my test light. All right, I've got my test light. I'm going to go ahead and check it, make sure that it's nice and bright. Okay, always check your test light. Make sure that it is functioning, otherwise you're going to be chasing your tail. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and touch the test light to one of the leads here on my Noid light. Instead of trying to jam this into a terminal there, maybe causing problems with that connector, I'm just going to use my Noid light that's plugged in. Alright, I've got a good bright light there. That's my power side. Now if I touch the other side, I should bring that Noid light on because I'd be providing ground through my test light, so let's do that. Alright, there, he's working just fine. Alright, light comes on. So anyways, I know I have power here at my injector harness, so I'm going to unplug it. I'll plug this back in. Okay, next thing, I want to take a look and see if I've got power and ground at my coil. Okay, I've got a pin that's not bigger than the terminal of that coil. I'm going to go ahead and slide it into this wire or into the terminal here so I don't cause damage. I'll be able to measure it that way. This should be my power side. So let's slide in there. Alright, nice bright test light there. Alright, so to check my ground, I'm going to go ahead and just put my alligator clip on the battery positive. Ground, make sure the light is working. Light is working. Okay, I'm going to move my pin to the ground side. Should be this middle terminal right here. Black wire. Then I'm going to take my... Alright, there we have it. Ground's good, power's good. Now I need to check the ignition control side of things. So this should be a 5-volt square wave coming from the PCM, and what I'm going to do is just back probe this wire. This one, it's a little yellow wire. Alright, red lead on the one for the IC signal. Black lead on a good ground. Alright, you might be able to see that. Alright, I'm going to set my min-max, peak min-max, and we'll crank it, and we'll see if we've got somewhere in the neighborhood of 0 to 5 volts. so minimum is negative 0.049. For all intents and purposes, we'll call that a 0. And see what our maximum is. Maximum 0.085. Okay. Well, I'm not seeing a pulse coming from the PCM there. So I don't know if the PCM's hurt or not. Probably the next thing I want to check crank and cam signal. This vehicle, I'm not sure if it'll start without a cam signal. I know it's not starting without a crank signal. So I think that is the next test that I'm going to do. The vehicle is up in the air now, and we're looking at the crank center right here. Now, that top wire, the pretty blue wire, that is the crank signal. So I'm going to go ahead and back probe that with a pin, and I'll connect my positive meter lead to that, and we'll lower the vehicle down. I'm a one-man show today, so I don't have anybody up sitting in the car there waiting to start it for me. All right, there's just no way I'm going to get this thing put in there without blocking the image, so sorry about this. Now I'm sliding it in there, doing everything I possibly can to avoid piercing the wire. Okay, there it is. No damage to the insulation. Hook the red lead here on that pin. And I'll go ahead and lower the vehicle, connect my meter to it, and we'll attempt to start it, see what signal we get. All right, the meter's connected to the signal from the crank sensor. I've got it up here where I can see it as I crank. Now, I see something that I don't care for. We've got 1.126 volts. Normally the sensor is going to give me somewhere very close to 0 or somewhere very close to 5, depending on where the tooth of the tone wheel is relative to that sensor. So either I've got a very low value that's not 5 volts, or I've got a high value, which is not my 0. So I'm going to set this back up to the peak min-max while I crank it, and we'll attempt to see if we get some type of signal. Minimum, that makes me happy. It's very close to 0. Max 2.6, and again, this should be much closer to 5. So something isn't quite right about it. I think the next thing is to put it back up in the air. We're going to check for the voltage coming in the ground, so I can do that with my test light or my meter. So back up in the air I go. Take a look and see what my power and ground are. Okay, my yellow and black wire here should be battery voltage coming right off a fuse. My battery voltage is low, but there that is. The one next to it should be my ground. So I'm a little hesitant to do this, but I will give it a whirl anyways. If I place a ground here, keeping them separated, I don't have my test light applied to power here, otherwise that's the way I check it. All right, black lead on the ground, red lead on the power. And there I've got the same voltage as I checked before. So I'm happy with that. Now I'm going to check the light, or the pretty blue wire there, which is my signal. And with it unplugged, I should have 5 volts. Again, this should be him right there. I've only got a little over 1 volt there. Okay, so something is definitely not right here. All right, I think what I'm going to do next, I'll plug this sensor back in. I'm going to go up, take a look at the cam sensor, see what it has, make sure it's, well, whether it's got 5 volts or not on the signal wire. I got my 2 cam sensors unplugged. Here's one, here's the other one. I'm looking for a green wire. Kind of hard to see. This should be my green wire over here. That should be my reference, and again I'm using a pin which is smaller than the actual terminal so as not to do damage. Alright, black lead. Black lead's on a good ground. Alright, meter's working. Let's touch this. There, I've only got a little over 1 volt. Again, we should have 5 there. Something is definitely not right here. Check our other cam sensor there. And that one should be blue with the white. Again, should be this guy right here. There we go again. A little over 1 volt, so we definitely have a problem. Something either in the PCM is damaged, or we've got something going on with that 5 volt bus, something externally pulling it down. Next thing is going to be for me to start unplugging things. So, I mean, I've already got cam sensors disconnected. Map sensor, going to be another good one. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to tie back into this. It should be my 5 volt circuit here. Okay, and I'm going to start unplugging things. I got the map sensor right here. Alright, that is unplugged. Change there. Alright, some other things that might have 5 volts attached to it. Mass airflow, I believe, is using a 5 volt reference circuit for its signal. It's unplugged. Alright, got him undone. From there, I'm going to take a look at the wiring schematic and see if there's anything else. Alright, tied into the same 5 volt reference as the map sensor is a manual trans output shaft sensor. Maybe when that transmission was out, something happened to wires or switches. I'm going to unplug it and see what this voltage does. Okay, now I'm hearing a noise. I don't know if that sounded like it was coming from the throttle body. Oh, if we look. All right, voltage is back up to 5. I'm going to go ahead and plug these cam sensors back in, plug the map sensor back in. We're going to see if this pig starts. Yep. All right, got the scan tool on. We'll see if we got communication with it. It's an Acura. Let's try automatic ID. It would not automatic ID last time. That looks like us. I'm going to do a full code scan and see if any other modules are on the list. Okay, it's just telling me some of the body electric will include. Key is on, engine's off. All right, usually this takes a little bit of time. Well, something is very good so far. We do have engine codes, which means ECM is online. Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and clear all the codes. And we'll start it up and run it, and we'll see if anything comes back. Okay, we've got them all cleared. I'm going to go ahead and turn the key off, then we'll start it up. Do another all code scan. Let's see what's what. Alright, started up, ran it after clearing the codes. Let's do another one. Engine's on, engine's off. Alright, no engine code, no ABS, no airbag. Looks like the only one we've got is this body electric set gauges. Let's see if the gauges themselves. Okay, nothing really related to what we had with the no start condition. I'm at a little bit of a loss here. I'm a little more familiar with GM products than this, and I will tell you I've had several, or maybe more than several, GM products that have had problems with sensors or wiring shorts, shorting that 5-volt bus to ground, and I've never had a lack of communication with the PCM because of the 5-volt bus being pulled low. Evidently, Honda does things a little bit differently here, and that's the only thing I can say. That the transmission output shaft sensor, again, has 5 volts running to it. Something in that was pulling it low. Wasn't pulling it directly to ground, but something was pulling it down to about 1 volt, and for some reason the PCM wasn't able to communicate with the scan tool or the other modules. So let me go ahead and show you where that sensor is, and I think that'll bring us to an end. Okay, so let's see if I can get in there, get you zoomed in and see it. Right here, let's see, there we go. Right there. That is the sensor. And the harness, let's back up here a little bit. The harness wasn't connected or secured where it needs to be. I got a couple clips here not connected, but I see no damage in it whatsoever. And if there was damage in it, pulling at 5 volts down, well, it'd still be giving me a problem. So that's a moot point, I guess. Something is wrong with that sensor. And I can't tell you, maybe it's just coincidence. I don't see anything broken or anything on it. But this thing reared its ugly head after a clutch was replaced in this vehicle. And, well, anyways, if any of you are running into Honda vehicles, at least 2010 and in that era, and you have no communication with a scan tool on your PCM, but the other modules are okay, it might just be a 5-volt reference is pulled low somewhere. So anyways, I learned something pretty big today, so hopefully I help some of you in the future. All right, well, that's all I've got. Thanks for watching.